Now, I know it's been a while, but welcome back to another video on Third Rock Through My Eyes. In today's video, let's take a look at some failed assassinations. Now, when I say the word assassinations, your mind must go to likes of Abraham Lincoln or Mahatma Gandhi. Today, let's take a look at 5 failed assassinations that were planned and executed to the point for something to go wrong in the final moments. Remember, these assassinations, which came down to something like a jammed gun or simple mistiming, could have changed the fate of our planet for better or worse. Number 1. Vladimir Putin. Now, not everyone on this list is already dead and buried. Vladimir Putin, now around 70 years of age, is supposed to have had over 6 attempts on his life. The most recent of these includes a supposed drone strike where the Kremlin spotted 2 drones approaching the Kremlin, supposedly from the Ukrainians. In late May 2022, the Russian officials said that they foiled a plan on the Russian president's life when he was in the Caucasus regions, mountain region around Georgia, Armenia, etc. Another example of one of these 6 attempts on his life include when the Russian officials seized over 40 kilograms of plastic explosives that was waiting for him in his car back in 2002. Number 2. Subhash Chandra Bose. Now, back in 1941, Subhash Chandra Bose had a very clever idea. In order to create an army strong enough to overthrow the British, he started to approach British's opponents, or the Axis powers, specifically Japan and Germany. He planned to meet Hitler in Germany in 1941, and so he began his trip from India to Germany. The British Raj, who came to hear of this, were very shocked and decided to assassinate him before he could reach his final destination. The British Raj received intel that Subhash Chandra Bose was planning on reaching Germany through the Middle East, and so they had their special forces stationed in Iran and Egypt. However, Subhash Chandra Bose came to know of this plan and cleverly evaded them, going through Russia to reach Germany. And finally, his journey paid off as he met Hitler on April 2nd, 1941. Number 3. Adolf Hitler. The German leader had over 42 attempts on his life, but after reading through like a dozen of them, I found personally this one was probably the closest. It began when 35-year-old painter George Elser decided that enough was enough and that the only way to prevent further bloodshed was to assassinate the leader. Hitler made an annual speech in a hall known as the Beer Hall in Munich, and it was due for his speech in the next 2 months. And so George Elser came up with a plan. He spent 35 nights in a row building a homemade bomb and hollowed out the pillar few feet away from the Führer. After hollowing out the pillar, he fit the bomb inside it, and this position was perfect because as long as Hitler making the speech, there was no way he would avoid the blast. And finally, on the fateful night, while Hitler was making his speech, he received news there was a success in his campaigns from France. And so he cut his speech short by 8 minutes and left the hall. The successful blast killed over 68 people, but Hitler was not one of them. And so, by sheer dumb luck, Hitler prevented his own death. The Nazi authorities found out that it was George Elser behind the blast, and he was sent to a Nazi concentration camp where he was executed in 1945. Number 4. Nelson Mandela. In 2002, a group of white supremacists aimed to murder Nelson Mandela, their country's first black president. Nelson Mandela was visiting a rural school in rural South Africa, and this group placed bombs on the side of the road which Nelson Mandela would be crossing. These bombs would be detonated by fishing hooks which they would detonate. Nelson Mandela, however, on that fateful day, decided to take a helicopter in a spontaneous last-minute decision. This decision would prove to be fruitful as it would save his life. The group was later apprehended, and depending on how much they repented their actions, were sentenced to from a 5-year to a life sentence. Number 5. The Big Three. The Big Three of the World War II was, of course, the leaders of Russia, UK and USA, specifically Joseph Stalin, Winston Churchill and Theodore Roosevelt. The three were planning to meet in the Tehran Conference of 1943, and the Nazis who came to hear of this hatched up a plan to either abduct or murder all three. And so the Nazis set up camp near the Tehran Conference. However, Soviet spies were quick to catch on and decrypted all the secret messages which the camp sent back to Nazi Germany. And so the Soviet spies captured the entire Nazi regime, which were armed to the teeth. Several books and movies have been written and taken on this subject, including Operation Long Jump, which was the name given to the Nazi operation, and Tehran 43. Thanks for watching today's video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.